Hey, hey, everybody. We are live. Hello, Lee. Huh, okay. Cool. Just getting a little bit set up here. Making sure things are... Oh, I gotta turn off my other light. Boop. Yes. Lee is hanging out in chat today. Hello, Black Henge. How are you? Hello, Tim. I'm just gonna call you Tim. Or T.O. Hello. How's the sound? Is the music too loud? Do I need to turn it down? Is it good? Hello, Jessica. Cool. Cool. Where's everybody coming in from? Where y'all watching from? I'm good. Okay. Good, Alex. Hey, Ray. From Virginia. Cool. In Oregon. Very cool. Yay, Texas! What? I am live streaming from Texas, actually. From Waco, Texas. So, for y'all that don't know who I am the Art Lab TX, also known as Christy. I'm one of the brand ambassadors here in Texas. Really the only one for Texas. Hey, Judy from Chicago/New Mexico. How are you in two places at once? I'm guessing you're in between. So, we are going over some watercolor techniques today. Tips and techniques. I have a little color chart. I'll go over this a little bit later that I made, and these are the colors I'm going to be using today. Also, you can use the Keep Cool code in the ArtSnacks shop for 40% off in the shop. Yes, it is hot. That's why I'm inside. Oh, you have apartments in both. Oh, okay. Those are pretty spread out, Judy. One in Chicago and then one in New Mexico. That is like really far. Where did I put my... Put these up here. I'm pretty bad at watercolors, so I'm glad you're doing this. Well, yes, I think with watercolors, it can be easy. You only sketch and paint. It's hard. It's a thing that I've had practice for many years. So I just kind of I just do it, and I play. A lot of the times it's playing. So we're just gonna go through some techniques, and I'll show you kind of in a picture later. I'll show you, how to do a few of the techniques and kind of layer them in. Outside for 5. That's a long time to be outside, Jessica. I hope you're drinking lots of water. Please drink lots of water and literally keep cool, y'all. We don't want anybody fainting. Okay, so this is not going to fit in frame. But, so these are some techniques that I kind of prep before. I can't do all of these in stream because some of them, they have a little bit of time. You know, to dry, it takes a little bit of time. No problem, Alex. It's all about having fun. Art is all about, to me, art is all about having fun and enjoying the process. Like, I'm all about process and, you know, just making it as easy as possible. Some of these take some, you know, even I struggled on some of these techniques, which I'll tell you about each one of them in a bit. But I think, like, it's not too bad. So first I'm going to go over the techniques, and then I'll get into the supplies and stuff of what I'm going to be using throughout the stream. I'm going to be using a lot. But I encourage you to, you know, grab some watercolor paper and, you know, sketch. You know, you can listen to me in the background if you want. I encourage you to, you know, do some of the techniques with me. The piece that I'm going to be doing is very abstract, so it allows for room to play. So, okay. So I think these 12, there's a lot of techniques, basic techniques, but I chose these 12 because these are a lot of the ones that I learned in school. I am half self-taught, half educate, you know, not educated, what's the phrase? Sorry. I'm half self-taught, half classically trained. So I have a degree in art, and I had to do a lot of studio courses, and 2 of the courses I did was a watercolor 1 and 2 class. So I had to do a lot of these practices. I recommend this for anybody who's starting out because it really is hard to just dive straight in. Like, you know, if you have a picture in mind, it's great, but I really encourage, like, practicing these sorts of techniques first before you go in and diving into, like, a really serious piece. Cool. Good. Okay. So, this, I used three colors in this particular one. I kept it pretty simple. I think when I was first learning all of these techniques, I used too many different colors, so it looked kind of wonky. So I actually used Pyrrole Orange, Pyrrole Scarlet. Hang on. Thought I had them next to me. I did not have them next to me. So I used Pyrrole Scarlet for this red. And then I used this phthalo that I already have out. I used that for that. And then I used the new gamboge for the yellow. So they mixed pretty nicely, but for the palette, I used a different palette for today. And I'll talk more about that later. But, so with the flat wash here, this is called a flat wash because it's literally like you wash kind of the paper, which is a really, it can be a tricky technique to get in the beginning. You'll get kind of frustrated because you'll see these lines and stuff, but it just takes time and patience and really like the right type of brush. So I recommend a square brush. I didn't have one from we don't have a really big one in the ArtSnacks shop, but like anything between, like, you know, an angle brush to like something big like this. I use bigger brushes because they help me smooth out the lines a little bit easier. But what you do is you take your color and you want to make like a little puddle off to the side, and you kind of make a nice like homogeneous like single color, and then you go over it in a horizontal manner. You go over it like this, and then you can go vertical to smooth it out, and you just kind of like work with it until you don't see any of those lines. And then you don't want to like oversaturate the paper, which you'll learn later with this kind of paper. Like you'll learn, you know, how much water to use. It's a lot of water control, which is what people struggle with, I think. Oh, good. I don't think I have that flat brush. Or no, well, I have this angle brush, but I don't recommend something smaller than that, you know, small like this, because yeah, I don't know where mine is. I don't think I have a big flat brush from y'all. But I don't recommend like something small. I recommend something a little bit bigger, because you'll see a lot of the lines. Bree used one in the ArtSnacks 20, but I don't have that particular brush. But Lisa's, we have one in there. Hey, Art Adventure! Welcome back to the stream. Okay, but with the flat wash, it's generally like you'll take that color and you'll just kind of go over it. And then the graded wash is a little bit different. Again, like once you get the flat wash, the graded wash is like a whole like other technique on top of that. So you'll take that puddle of whatever color, and then you'll swipe with that color, swipe again, and then you'll go and clean your brush out, tap it on a paper towel, and then you'll pull down the color with it. And then you can repeat it and kind of like pull it, and I even didn't really get it like the way I wanted it, but it kind of did it. With the variegated wash, this one's really tricky, and even I had a hard time with it. So you really have to make sure your paper is like saturated enough so all the colors like blend into each other. Of course I remember you. Okay, so you'll take like each of your colors and have them like have like a little bit of a puddle of each already set on the side, so that way you don't have to like mix things and worry about timing. So you'll put your first swipe of color, and then you'll dab it off, clean it off, and then you go into your next color and then swipe it on, and then dab it off, clean it off, and then you'll do your last color. And then you kind of have to go in throughout. It's really a combination of these two, and I don't recommend this for beginners because it's really hard to get that really flat like look. And I even like added a little bit too much water and it started flooding this way. So it's just a technique oriented one. So I recommend practicing a flat wash first, as you'll generally use that in a lot of illustrations and that sort of thing. So moving on to the next row, we have dry on dry. So it's dry brush, like you can take like a round. This is the Lauren Princeton in size 4 round. This is dry right now. Sometimes what you'll have to do is like, this is a dirty paper towel, but what I'll do is I'll wet the brush, pick up some of the color, and then I'll dab it off, and then I'll go over that spot and kind of repeat that until I fill the whole area. Dry on dry can be a little tricky because, like, watercolor, the paint is wet. So it's just a matter of like dabbing off and making sure you can apply as you go. Wet on dry is a wet brush on dry paper. So it's kind of generally the thing that anybody, if they pick up a paintbrush, you'll just pick up the paint and go right into the paper. And that's like what a lot of people do. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Wet on wet is a wet brush on wet paper. So like you'll do like a wash or something of a color, and you'll brush that on. And then while it's wet, you go into another color and you drop in the color. And usually this is like my favorite technique because it'll make the colors like bloom outward is the terminology. It'll bloom out. I recommend for very variegated to go in with the lightest color and then merge into the darker color. That's smart. Because I don't really have a technique in mind for variegated. I don't do a lot of this wash for reasons. For reasons because I'm not good at practicing him yet exactly. So like I'm still practicing like sunsets and stuff, so that's really a good recommendation. Just in general with watercolor, you always want to go lightest to darkest. You never want to go in with like a blue and then a yellow like I did. Don't do what I did. Do as I say, not as I do. So that's really good advice. Go from like your lightest color, so go like yellow and then do your red and then do a blue. Or on like a sunset, like if you have a blank sheet of paper, you know, go bottom up. So you'd go from your lightest, that yellow that's closest to the sun, then red, and then your blue on top to get that sunset, for example. Okay. Yep, drop my paper. So next is dry on wet. So this is dry brush on a wet background. So it's a little bit different from the wet on wet. The wet on wet is very, like, I like it, it's fun. The colors just kind of bloom outward. This one's a little more understated on the bloom, but it still kind of has like that dryish look. So for example, which is opposite of what Art Adventure mentioned, where you're supposed to actually go light and then dark. But I was just kind of like, I was trying to alternate colors, and so that's why I went opposite. So I just did a light brushing of the blue, and then what I did was I took like a dry brush and I took it horizontal, and then I like dabbed it off in there, and I worked. I did sound effects because it's really the dry technique, which I'll show later. You know, you just have to have your brush to where it's not, your brush won't be dry exactly. It'll be drier than what's on the paper. But I'll show more of that technique later. This one is just using washi tape or masking tape. You can take like tape like this, and then you just put it down first, and after you just take your brush and go. Hello, Dot from Missouri. I tried the code on the flat brush, and the Keep Cool discount would not work on it. It's only on watercolor products, so it might not be on brushes. Lee, can you help Dot out? It's always fun to break the rules, and sometimes like you did there. All the samples are really cool. Oh, thank you. So yeah, you put your masking tape down, and then you go with a wash on top, just very basic. And then you get these really nice crisp lines, and you can get like, you can do really cool like typography with that. Okay, so thanks, Lee. So with the masking fluid, we don't have masking fluid in the shop, but the one that I use is by PBO. It's called drawing gum, which is weird that I'm not really sure why they call it drawing gum, but it's a masking marker. So it's blue and it'll dry clear. So you just draw it on there, let it dry, and then you do your wash on top, and then you peel it. Sometimes I peel with my finger. It depends on if I have my peeling tool, which I don't have it around me right now, but I have like a big glob of like leftover masking fluid that it picks it up for me. Without staining it. But this PBO comes up pretty easily. You can use like, you know, the back of your finger or you know, something like, I think even eraser. So moving on. On the bottom here is crayon and a flat wash. So I used just a white crayon. Again, I don't think this is in the shop. But I mean, you know, it's $1 for like a whole pack of like, you know, crayons. So I just went along and I marked kind of in random places and a little heart, and I just, you know, went to town on the square, and then I just took my brush and went flat wash. So see, like, I'm coming back to the flat wash a lot in a lot of these techniques, and seriously, as soon as you learn how to do flat wash, you'll be like golden for like half of these techniques. So then this one's splatter, pretty self-explanatory. You take one brush, or you fill your brush with color, with like kind of a watered down version of your color, and then one of the techniques I like is tapping it like this, tapping it on top. You can flick it if you don't mind like getting paint. You can like flick it. Or the other technique I do, which is taking the backside of any clean brush and you just flick it like this. And you want to make sure you cover other areas if you don't want it like in another area. So I like doing this for like a more dramatic, and that's what I did in that way. Yeah, I like PBO just because it's, for me it's been alright. I haven't tried Holbein's masking fluid, but I just like PBO because I can just order it real quick, and it's fairly inexpensive. There's this one, and then I like this one because it's in pen form, but they have like a whole jar about this big, and I have a bunch of it, and I haven't really gotten out of it. I don't remember. I don't know if I can refill this. I think I might be able to, like, take the tip off and refill, but it's just easy, you know, with a pen. Thank you, adventure. So the last one, which is the most time consuming, is the blobs. I'll show it a little bit closer. So what's nice about this, it gets kind of like similar technique, similar kind of look as the wet on wet. But I can't really do this one on stream because it literally takes hours for this to dry. So you want to do like big blobs of water, almost kind of to get it to where it has like a blimp of water, where there's surface tension on it. And then what you want to do is you want to take your brush in your color, and then you want to get really you want to get a lot of color in there, and you just want to drop it. There's a lot of Instagram people that like to do that type of technique where they just kind of drop the color and let it do its thing. Don't mix it around, just like drop it and then just leave it for hours, and it'll dry, and it kind of creates this really interesting texture. And depending on if you have a fan, it'll like make ridges, kind of like a topographical map. It's really neat. I don't do it too often because I'm too impatient to, like, you know, wait for it. So that's not one of my most popular ones, but I do like doing this if I do have the time and really want that technique. So yeah, these are the 12 techniques that I generally is a good way to start, you know, dive in with watercolors. Today I don't think I'm going to be doing many flat washes, but I am going to be doing a little bit of dry on wet, wet on wet, and a little bit of wet on dry. And then I might do a little bit of the splatter. I don't think I'm going to do any masking today, although it would be cool, but I don't really need any of that for the piece that I'm doing today. No problem. I'm all about like showing the, you know, the good stuff. Here's the keep cool. Whoop. There we go. Okay. So, going over some of the things that I'm going to be using. So, as you can see, these are some of the paints that I'm going to be using. Here we go. So it's Phthalo Blue, Quinacridone Pink, and Hansa Yellow Light. These three are available in the shop. You can use that. Like I said, you can use the Keep Cool code. I really like this because it's kind of close. It mimics kind of the cyan, magenta, yellow, like a printer ink. And it makes for a really nice mix. I mean, like, it's a really nice, they mix really nice. So, like, here. This is the Hansa, this is the Quin, and this is the Phthalo. They just mix really nice into like a really nice green, a really nice purple, and a really nice orange. Like they hum really nice. I always recommend you looking at a little bit of color theory whenever, you know, you're starting out, because like for me it was really discouraging to you know, mix a red and a blue and then get that funky like purple and back then I didn't like it, but now I like it. I've been playing with the color a lot. It was with Pyrrole Scarlet and with this Phthalo Blue, because you have you have like a cool toned blue and a warm toned red, and it doesn't exactly hum to make that purple. And so if you go a little bit more of the magenta, so closer to a purple spectrum, you can get more of that purple instead of the Pyrrole. Just a little tip, because it's one of those things that people don't ever teach you. Like in school, nobody ever taught me that. Color, you know, once you figure out those colors that you like, you'll always use them. Like I think for this one is the same color. I mean, it makes such a nice green. I mean, look at that. You get that teal, and then you get that really limey kind of chartreusey green. This is just using these two paints. I mean, look at the variety you can get just with 3 colors. I mean, you don't need that much with with watercolors. If you use like the whole spectrum, you get overwhelmed. Like I get color anxiety. And this is just to help you make better choices whenever you're picking your colors. Always mix your colors, figure out what you're using, and even I recommend this for all the ArtSnacks boxes, you know, just to get a good idea of what you're doing. And I showed this last stream. Just to get a good idea of what you're mixing. This was with the Pyrrol, because I got Pyrrol and Phthalo. And they're good together. I mean, like, all the colors that were in the shop are really good together. But, I mean, at the time I was like, oh, it made this ucky, like, purple, and what am I going to do with that? But, like, look at the variety of colors you can get with just those two colors. I mean, there's this really nice grayish, cool tone gray right here, but then you get, like, kind of a muted, you know, like, maroony color, you know, you get a lot. Color harmony is like one of those things I'm really a big advocate for, because if you mix something ugly, it ruins kind of like your process. Like it makes it not fun. One of the other ones that I like, this is not in the shop, but it's a Daniel Smith, is Cobalt Teal, and this Quinn make a really neat, make a really nice purple. Let me see. This one? Oh no, I don't have that one. I don't have an example of that one. Well, I'll talk about this one instead. I have this one. Where is it in my little pile here? Where did it go? Well, I don't have it, but it's another version of the Phthalo. It's the Phthalo green. This green and this pink go really amazing. Like they make this really nice blue in the middle, like a really nice muted blue. I mean, it's just these sorts of things like you don't think about, like, well, this pink and this green, you think it make brown, but it makes a really nice blue on the inside. So yeah, like, yes, the teal is really pretty on its own. I really love Daniel Smith. I can't advocate enough for them. They're like so amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna put these aside. Let's see. I'll put that over here. So, the brushes that I'm gonna be using, I already showed you my flat. I don't think I'm going to be using this one because I use this on like really like bigger spaces. But I do have my angle, which is the Protege. Oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce this. Protege. I'm just going to say Protege because it looks like Protege because they have little accents. And it's in a 1/4 inch. It's the angle shader. I thought I might do some dry brush technique with this one, and I haven't really used this one much, so I thought I might play with that one. And then, of course, the Princeton Aqua Elite in size 8 round. Really great on sucking up the water. Like it's really nice. I don't believe so. Lee, is it too late to sign up for the August box? Don't think so. I'm pretty sure we're still good on that. And then the other brush I'm going to be using is the Princeton Lauren in 4 round. This one's a nice, really flexy brush, and I've actually really liked this brush. It's funny because I was talking about this last stream. Bree really likes this brush, and I actually really am starting to like this brush a lot because I can control my water a little more than with the Princeton. The Princeton holds a lot of water, so I don't typically want like to plunge a bunch of water into my piece. This is really like, I really like this, how much this brush holds. Later, hopefully later, I'm going to do a little pen and ink with the Aqua Ink graphics in black. I'm not sure if you can get black, but I know these are available in the shop. Really pigmented ink. I'm gonna try to line with this later. I got this in the Inktober box, which, by the way, you can sign up for Inktober boxes right now. This nib though, I switched out nibs because the other nib I had gotten is a little sharp for me, so this one has like a nice kind of flatter, not flatter, rounded tip, so it's a little bit easier to go over the rough paper. I may do some detail work with the Caran d'Ache super colors. These are my one of my fave watercolor or water soluble pencils. I don't think there's a color. Oh yeah, I have it in lemon yellow, yellow green, and cobalt blue, and I'll just do some like detail stuff with that. And then if I do any pencil work, it'll be with the Swiss Wood Caran d'Ache HB. Love the smell of this brush. This not brush, pencil. Maybe you want to refresh. Okay. So the paper, the last thing is the paper, which I already cut down my paper to 5x7. I'm going to be using the Fluid 100, which I got in the ArtSnacks Plus box. I have used a ton of this. I think I only have 4 sheets left, but I've been trying to cut it down so it lasts a little bit longer. This is 140-pound cold press paper. I recommend 140 cold press to any beginner because this helps with like basic techniques and stuff. It allows you to see the color enough. I have some 300 that was, while stuff is drying, I'll show you all the 300-pound that they have available in the shop. But for today, I'm going to be using the Fluid 100, and I love this paper. I've been using it a ton. Oh no, you're sold out of that paper. Well, I mean, it's good that you're sold out, but bad for anybody who wants to try it. Yes, the pencils are amazing, but apparently the fluid paper is sold out. I'm sorry. Okay. So, I am going to just jump right in. Sorry, I apologize ahead of time if I get a little quiet. Sometimes I get like really focused into like what I'm doing and stuff. So I'm not going to mask off the edges. Normally I do this where I do this normally a lot with my pieces, so that way it's like pulled off. Oh, this is a practice piece I'm working on. It's with negative painting, which I would have loved to do during this stream, but that is not a technique that will fit into an hour. So I might try to do like a time lapse or something whenever I get more practice at this. But this is a really cool technique to get into when you get like a little more advanced. But yeah, negative painting, super fun. Creates really cool kind of gradients and stuff like that. But I think the Caran d'Ache pencils, I think those are still available, right, Lee? Is that still available? Okay. Where's my pen? Okay. So the other thing I need to go over is that you need to have paper towels. Always have paper towels along the side. I have it like off camera, but always have paper towels to dab off your paintbrush, so that helps you control the water. Oh, good. Yay. Because those are like my favorite pencils, and I think everybody should try those. Always have 2 jars of water, one for dirty, for initial cleaning of your brush, and then 1 clean water. So if you like, for example, you need to get into yellow, it's always good to have like clean water on the side. So 2 jars of water, paper towels, paintbrush. Here we go. Okay. I need to take a sip of my coffee. I actually am gonna use my flat brush because I wanna get a good kind of wash on the top, and just kind of one of the other things I like to do is prep each of my little pans here. Just a little bit of water, maybe drops on the side. Okay. So this is one of my favorites to do. Just kind of, I'm just going in with a little bit of water, a kind of a flat wash, kind of not, just kind of going in, making sure. The other way to tell if your paper is like still wet is to kind of look at it at an angle. Going with a light color. We're just gonna get a good wash. Maybe a little more water. Okay, just gonna start dropping in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a smaller pile off to the side a little bit. Clean my brush a little bit. Go into my pink. Just a little bit of pink. So there's this thing with watercolors, I don't know if y'all know, but there's this thing with watercolors, you gotta like be careful how much of a super pigmented one like a Quinn or a Phthalo, because it'll eat the yellow. Yellow is like such a delicate color. Oh, next one. Forgot to dig that. Whoop, there we go. Need a little more water. There we go. And my yellow traveled across, but that's okay. Just tip it over. And then I'm gonna go into my pink. Make a little more orange. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift. This technique is lifting, so you want to dry off your brush a little bit. You just pull across, so that way it kind of, the water doesn't keep just going across, because it's kind of, what it's doing is it's pulling. I put a little bit too much water there. It's gonna go like this, and put it across the top. So what I'm doing right now is wet on wet. This is one of my favorite techniques to do. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of that pink. I'm rinsing off in between colors just because I don't want to contaminate my pan. I don't want, like, especially in the yellow, it's a sensitive color, and like sometimes I'll accidentally get like my brush and it's still got a little bit, a pinch of like blue, and it'll turn the whole thing green, and I'm like, oh, yellow, I don't know what to do with you. Might get a little muddy up there because that orange keeps wanting to pull across. There we go. So I'm just drying off my brush and pulling. Dry the brush and pull. Pull it. So that's the technique called lifting. It's really more like taking the excess water off. It's not as much. Yes, I love this pink. The other reason why I try to start with yellow is so to make it the other little yellow puddles like you, because it's so easy to make yellow pan mix of money. It's so true, so true. Okay. as I'm kind of doing this, I'm gonna pull some lines from the bottom. It's gonna be like a little tree kind of drippy kind of look. Should use my Lauren actually for these lines. I am big into abstract work just because it's a way to let the watercolors do their own thing. I want to play with a little bit with line thickness there. If I go back into the trunk, it'll kind of give it a nice little texture when it dries. Like I said, wet and wet, that's my game. There's a lot of what I do is wet and wet because I just like the watercolor to do its own little thing. So I've done a bigger version of this piece. I've done an acrylic version of this piece, but not particularly colors, so kind of like new with this. Using these colors, so I'm just gonna pull down. I've been playing with these like cool kind of like branches, kind of abstract. You can get really thin. I really like this Lauren brush because it lets you get really thin. Yes, the half these are half pans. I actually ordered them on Amazon. They're by Meeden, Meeden. They are not available. Plastic half pans are not available in ArtSnacks. But, I mean, you don't have to use pans. Another thing I use is a palette. Well, right now I'm using an actual porcelain plate. But you can use one of these. These are a little more expensive. I recommend whenever you get like more advanced, this is a good purchase. What's nice is that you can flip it over and there's like another space to work on the other side. But, you know, for a cheaper option, just use a plate. And you can get these at the store. And typically sometimes I won't use the pan. I'll use it straight from the tube and I'll just dab off some and then you can just work in the palette like that. So you don't even have to get the half pans. But I have like a bunch of half pans, so that's why. Starting to get a little dry, so I gotta watch out. Also, another thing you can do is you can just take water and just go up, up, up. And you can make these really nice blooms here to give the tree a little more texture. Show you close up. See, they're making these cool little blooms. So what I haven't researched it enough, but I think what is happening with the watercolor and why it does that is because in the paper there's this thing called gelatin. It's the sizing that's in the paper. They call it sizing, and they use that to like help press out the paper. And I think like the watercolor and the gum arabic and the pigment is mixing with that and with the texture, and that's what creates that like bloomed effect. I'm just kind of thinking out loud on that one, kind of shooting from the hip a little bit, because I haven't done enough research on that to really like know why it blooms like that, other than, you know, the color is granulating. I'm pretty sure it's reacting with that. I've got about 20 minutes left. I'm trying to get through this. So there was a harsh line there and I just kind of blended it out. It dried up on this side, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a little more water down with my flat brush. I think I was going generally down like this and then back up. Maybe down like that. Okay. So I need to go in a little bit. Oh, maybe not that brush. I need to switch to my other brush. Gotta be kind of fast when you're working on these sorts of things. If you want to work on like something like this, you gotta kind of like work fast. And I'm lifting some of it because it was still wet. That's okay. I kind of do this thing where I'll dry off the brush and I'll just kind of blend it like this. Still wet. Oh, this brush. Still not used to how wet this brush gets. That's what's nice about abstract. Yes, I highly recommend this triad. It's really nice. It's a really nice palette. Okay, that's a really bright blue. I'm gonna dull it down a little bit. Okay. Just kind of dropping it in, wet on wet. Continuing along. Maybe blend it a little more right here, or right at the... And then what I'm gonna do, pull some of this yellow, put it right here, make that nice green, and we're just gonna go in like this because it keeps drying. It's like, nope, I don't want to stay wet. Hang on, my palette's getting in the way. It's funny, I inherently made like an outline right there, but that's okay. So I'm gonna make that green. Probably just rinse off my brush. I'll pull a little more yellow. Such a sensitive color. Maybe that's why I don't like yellow that much. But man, when you add it with my favorite color, I really love yellow. Because it makes such a nice green. Only if you have the right colors though. Hello, Lindy. I am playing on the Fluid 100. I'm playing on the Fluid 100. 140, and I cut it down to 5 by 7 inches. Okay, I gotta blend that. Dab off my brush. Go in, kind of mix it in there. Give it a little more hum, a little more. Just going back and forth between these colors. And while I'm at it, I'm going to pull down another tree trunk. I should have done that with my Lauren, but that's okay. Ooh. Where are you watching from, Lynn? Yes, I'm using the Daniel Smith paints because I love them, and they came in the box for ArtSnacks. I might make this one go out a little bit. Give it a little bit of a crown. Okay, I'm gonna go like... That ended up a little more thick there. Oh well. is a bigger tree, so it needs some bigger branches anyways. Mix a little bit of that red or purple there. Yes, there are other great papers. Oh, Cincinnati, cool. I'm gonna have to blend out some of that purple later. Maybe I shouldn't have dove right in with that yellow. I'll go like this and just fan it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to pull this color down. Pull a little bit down here. And with thins and thicks. Selling out of a product is good for the sellers, I guess. We have a great art store here. Oh, that's good. Yeah, Cincinnati does. That is the one thing I really like about ArtSnacks is that like it comes right to your door. It's amazing. Blend that out a little bit there. So as I'm blending, I'm kind of like drying off my brush. And actually, I'm gonna switch to my other brush. Oh, it's still wet. I'm gonna try to blend that edge a little bit out. Try to put in a little bit of more color here. Put in a little bit of dry brush actually. Let's get a little more texture as we're kind of moving along over on this side. So you hear that? I don't know if you can hear it. You can hear a little bit of a scratchy scratchy. That means you're in the right direction for dry brush. And I have a little bit of like the tree shape like with the blooms, but I just want to add a little more. My brush. Sometimes your brush will be a little too dry, so you gotta wet it a little bit and then dab it off to get that. Nope, it's still a little too wet. Oh. You can ruin a brush this way, but it's okay. I have a lot of brushes. Wet it off. I wanted to play with a little bit of salt, so I'm gonna take some table salt, some regular old table salt, pour some out on my hand. So I've got to wait just a little bit for this area to dry a little bit more before I touch it. Hello, Wanda. Welcome to the stream. Yes, raise your hand if you're an ArtSnacks subscriber. And how long have y'all been subscribed for? I have been subscribed for for a while, at least since 2015. So I've been subscribed for at least like 4 years. Yay! Lynn's a subscriber, Dot's a subscriber, Wanda, Art Adventure, Jessica, cool. Thank you. Yes. So I bought some Mediterranean like thick salt too, like a little bit more like a kosher size. But this is a little bit too big for this piece. So I just some table salt. It's easy enough. So I don't like to, I'm gonna put this aside and then I'll show you like on another sheet. I was gonna do this on, I wanted to see how it looked on the, here's the heavy. Lee, you said there's some heavy left, right? I bought a whole stack of heavy. Still doing experiments on it. I'm not used to heavy. I've worked on heavy before. This is the full, you can get one of these in the shop. I really like it because it has like that neat, like, different texture. So I have a little sample of it. I think you can buy samples as well in the shop. So if you don't know what you want, you can always get like a whole set of these in the shop. And they have like all the papers. So it'll have like the regular paper that we got in the other, the first ArtSnacks Plus box. It'll have like that lightweight paper for drawing, and then it'll have like, clearly I've used a ton of this, but I just wanted to show y'all that. That is available, I believe. 6 months. Cool. 1 month. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a large wash of kind of just, we're just going to go in. I'm going to go in with my pink. Oh, it was not watery enough. Hang on. Whoop. I need that to move just a little more. Okay. Well, I only got about 10 minutes left. I wanted to get some darker colors on here, so you can see the salt move on it. And the other piece, it's already kind of getting there. I'm using a ton of water. There's a really nice point at which you know that you can add the salt to get its best kind of. So I'm just gonna pop open this. Thought it was open. Now it's open. Okay. I'm gonna stick a little bit of rock salt. Oh, there's a thingy. There's a thingy stuck in the top. Okay, well, I'm just gonna take out. I'm using the chunky salt because I want to see what it'll do. I do not recommend using your brush while there's salt on there. It'll eat your brush tips. It's really not good for your. Is really not good for your brushes, so I recommend brushing it off before you go back into it. Yes, the 5 milliliter tubes are what's available in the shop. So as you can see, it's already starting to pull. Some of these bigger ones are already starting to pull the pigment into itself. Table salt takes a little longer. My other piece is still drying a little bit. So this is the 300. This is the 300 pound. That's what it means by heavy. And then I have another aqua pad, and I'll show you kind of the difference. I'm gonna wrap up here in a bit. I always recommend 140 to everybody. But 300 is fun to play with. And I found out that Arches apparently makes a 400, and I was like, say what? Yeah. Arches makes it a 400-pound paper. I'm like, you're crazy. There's a little more red in that purple, but oh well. Kind of trying to do this in a rush. Actually, almost a little bit too much water on here, but you'll see a difference here in a minute. You can already see like the table salt is reacting really nicely on there. So in the middle I put a combination of the table salt, and then on the, so this is the regular rock salt, this is table salt and rock salt, and then that's just table salt. So you can get some really cool effects. That's like one of my favorites to do. Have you ever tried plastic wrap? Yes, I have. Let me set this off to the side. We'll let those dry. Let me get another piece of the 140. Oh, I don't have any saran wrap. I don't have any saran wrap, but yes, I have done that before. I could maybe use the bag actually. Let me see if this will work. It's almost dry. So I'm gonna use the bag from the Plus box. Well, let me see if this will work. I don't know if this is gonna work as well as I think it is. So I'm just gonna go in straight with the pink. Little. I just love playing with watercolors. It's like so much fun. Why stress over the process? You just go in, have fun. Who cares? As long as you're practicing. Okay, I'm gonna try this. How long do I leave it on there? So maybe not good for a live show, but you have to wait for it to dry. Oh, okay. Oh, you have to wait for it to dry. Okay. Well, I will take this off and I'll take a picture. So what I recommend is that you follow us over on the Mix. ArtSnacks Mix. I'm finding a flat spot for this to dry, and I'll post it later. Hopefully I remember to post it later. It's okay. I should have had this saran wrap ready. This is mostly dry. So this is just, I'm just going to sweep off that salt so it doesn't get on my brush. So this is just kind of like the first layer. I can't do like another layer because we have run out of time, but this is kind of like a good idea of like kind of generally what I like doing. It's just like playing and enjoying the process. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some more color, add a little more color because I used very washed out, I didn't use as concentrated colors, so that's why it dried so light. You have to remember that with watercolors. Usually when you add the water, it just becomes a lot lighter whenever you put it on there. So that's why it's a lot of layering and stuff like that. So we did a lot of, actually I almost did, it didn't work out quite as well as I wanted, but I almost did a variegated wash, going from the yellow to the red to the blue. And then I did a little bit of salt on salt, wet on wet techniques, and then a little bit of dry on wet on dry, and then a little bit of dry brush in there too. So as you can see, I used like about 4 of the techniques that I showed y'all earlier. Just in this one piece, I used a little bit of dry on wet, dry on dry, wet on dry, wet on wet, or wet on dry. Sorry, this is wet on wet, this is wet on dry. And then a little bit of the variegated wash. It wasn't like a flat wash like that, but it was close to it. So, if you want to see the final, I'll probably be posting it on our mix. I invite y'all to join us over there. http://mix.artsnacks.co. That's where we post all of our cool stuff. This is, you know, a lot of this month has been focused on World Watercolor Month, so you can see all the cool watercolors and all the cool stuff we're talking about. Anytime we need help, you know, we'll post about it on there. We do a bunch of really cool stuff, and it's a really great community to be a part of. I always feel like, you know, we like to keep in our little, you know, studios and stuff like that. I recommend this group just because it's nice, because you can share. It's a safe place to share your work and get some support with it. So join us over at artsnacksmix.com. Didn't know we had that other link. You can join us over there, and I will post, I think I already posted the techniques, but I'll post them again, and then I'll post this later whenever I get to a more finished point, and then I'll, you know, post about the colors that I used and stuff like that. So I hope y'all have fun, and thank you for joining me throughout this whole stream. So yeah, hope y'all are staying cool, and I will see y'all later. Bye. Well, here comes the hard part, is taking my phone off.